This episode is produced and made possible with the help of Raycast Media.
Si le gustaría escuchar un episodio en español, por favor escuche el siguiente episodio.
Good morning and happy Monday, y'all. My name is David Fuentes, and I'm part of the team at La Incubadora Podcast. La Incubadora Podcast is part of the Economic Growth Business Incubator, a local nonprofit with a mission to provide training, coaching, and support to aspiring and existing business owners who face barriers to growing a successful business. La Incubadora Podcast is born out of the need to put in video and audio a lot of the success stories that we see here at the Business Incubator. We also want to answer frequently asked questions and connect small business owners with the resource they need to succeed on their own time and wherever they are, as long as they have access to a mobile device. This episode is produced with the support of Raycast Media, and so EGBI sends a big thank you to Raycast Media for their partnership with this podcast. Now, for this episode, we're going to sit down with Luis Delgado, who is the owner of the Critical Update, to discuss online security practices for small business owners. With over 2 decades of experience in IT support, Luis is going to share some essential tips on protecting your business from common cybersecurity threats. And so from phishing attacks and passwords management to the importance of employee training and regular software updates, this episode would have some information and practical advice to help you safeguard your business's digital assets. But before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about Luis. Luis is a technology professional with a unique international experience and with a passion for fostering community connections. Born in El Paso, Texas, and raised in Mexico City, he returned to the U.S. and graduated from the University of Texas at El Paso. There, he earned a degree in finance and a minor in information technology, laying the groundwork for his future entrepreneurial endeavors. As the founder of the Critical Update, Luis has enjoyed empowering small businesses by using technology as a tool to enable growth and sustainability. His involvement on various nonprofit boards has allowed him to contribute his expertise and become a trusted resource within the Austin business community. In addition to his professional pursuits, Luis is a dedicated father of 2 who successfully balances his career with a commitment to his family. In his free time, you can enjoy him enjoying some coffee while meeting new friends and learning about what motivates business owners. And so with that, I want to give a warm welcome to Luis. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, David, for having me here and for this opportunity.
Yes, and it's not always a privilege that I get to invite one of our board members. So thank you really for making the time here and for all your continued service.
I'm happy to be here.
And viewers can get to know you a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
And so, Luis, in case I missed anything on your bio, can you start off by telling us a bit about yourself and your business?
Sure. I think the best way to tell you about myself and the Critical Update is to give you a couple of examples of how we've helped our customers in the past. So a few years ago, I was sitting in Ed's office right after he purchased a learning center. And he told me, I don't know anything about this technology stuff. And, that takes a lot of courage for somebody to say that, right? Because as owners, we know everything. So we worked with Ed and his team, and he was telling me, we want to use iPads in the classrooms. We want to have a wireless system. We want to have cameras. We want a good phone system. I mean, he had a list of all the things that a good business would have. So after gathering information, working with him, we put together a plan. We ran some cables. We installed his wireless system. We worked with internet service providers to find the best value for his company. We helped him pick a voice over IP system. We implemented that. And then we helped him manage the security of his computers, helped him get a couple of new systems. And, we've been working with him for many years. Mm-hmm. And every time I go see him, it's good to hear that he doesn't have to worry about any of this technology stuff. He can focus on continuing to grow his business and provide very needed childcare. Another example, completely different example, is we have a paralegal, solo practitioner. She works from home, and same scenario. She is running her business. She's a legal professional, doesn't want to know anything about IT other than, am I protected? Is my data secure? And am I protecting my client's information? So same scenario with her. We looked at how she uses data, what she needed. We secured her systems. We managed her systems. And the biggest takeaway for her is the peace of mind that she has, knowing that we're just a phone call away, we're just an email away.
Mhm.
If she has any problem with a printer, with her email, questions about her backups, she reaches out to us. It's done for her. She doesn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I think one of the things that I've learned from being here, or one of the stresses that we've identified a lot in our small business owners, are those of technology. And so to have someone that is able to take care of that and ensure, that everything is up to date, I think is a big sense of a relief for a small business, that especially a small business owner that has to wear so many hats. It's one additional thing they don't have to worry about. And so today we've invited you to talk about best small business practices for online security. And so that takes us into really our first question here. What are some of the most common online security threats that small businesses face?
That's a very good question. I can go in all kinds of directions with this one. But over the years, I was thinking about the threats that business owners face. And I think, the biggest asset that we have as a business, as a growing, sustainable business, is our employees. But when you think about it, and when you look at how companies get breached, employees are the massive point of failure. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm saying, if your employees don't know what to look for, they're going to click on that link and blow up your business. Not intentionally, but that's one of the biggest threats that we've seen. Another huge threat that we see very often, especially lately, is business owners implementing free apps. Nothing's free. We know that. So whenever somebody gives you a free app, you are the product. They're taking your information. They're taking something that you're providing them. And there's a lot of spying. There's a lot of breaches. A lot of business owners install an app on their phone, and that app, in the terms of service, gives that company access to everything, your contacts, everything. Some apps even scan your network. I don't want to say names, but it's been talked about in Congress recently. So that's another huge problem that people are not even thinking about most of the time. And then statistically speaking, 90% of the threats to your business are going to come in via email. So those three are the ones that we think are the most present at this time, that we tell our clients to be aware of, and we implement solutions to help protect them from that.
Yeah, no, and I think, even here we've seen it, right? And I think you're absolutely right that the training is what's absolutely necessary. We also get emails, and we have, all of us here are aware of all the different types of phishing attacks that might happen. And emails, phone calls. So it's important to stay protected. With that, what are some basic cybersecurity measures that every business should try to implement immediately?
I think the most important thing is to step back a little bit and think mindset. The companies that we've seen, that we work with, that have the highest success rate at protecting their business, create a culture of security. So they have a mindset of security. Employees, founders, even vendors. And when you do that, you put the layers in place to make it harder for somebody to breach your company, to take your data, to cause damage. So that's the first thing that I recommend everybody. Instead of just looking at solutions, look at how you can create that culture of security. Once you get that part done, then we get into the practical aspects. Is, how do I use data? When we meet with a new client, my first question is, where's your data? Who's using your data? Who has access to it? What happens if all your data is on that computer? I take that computer and I throw it in the lake. Are you out of business? And you'd be surprised how many times people say, I never thought about that. Well, neither did the 60% of companies that shut their doors in the last 6 months because of ransomware. So we recommend people analyze how the data flows, how to protect it, who has access to it, because that makes you look at backups, makes you look at encryption, makes you look into all the little details of securing your business. And then at the solution level, we highly encourage having a good firewall, a good email filter with advanced security.
Mhm.
That's imperative. You got to have that. And some of the free services like Google, they have a good spam filter. Microsoft 365, they have a good spam filter.
Mhm.
But there's also higher grade solutions that you can implement through an IT consultant that are managed, that are better at catching phishing attempts,
Mhm.
and give you more tools to defend your business from those threats. Then when you look at the computer level, you want to make sure that you have basic security on your systems,
Mhm.
encryption, passwords, complex passwords, not sharing passwords. We have we've seen some companies that are in the medical field, and they got 3 computers that are unsecured. Everybody has access to them.
Oh, no.
Everybody's an admin, and from the consultant side of things,
Mhm.
I look at HIPAA laws, and I look at
Yeah.
what that means for them. So we try to help them understand the threads that a lot of people sometimes don't know, claim not to know, or choose to ignore. Um, so having those solutions in place um, basically creates all the layers
Yeah.
that we try to tell people. Each layer builds upon itself and makes it harder for
Mhm.
somebody to take your data or take your customer data or put you out of business.
Mhm. Yeah, so it seems like we should have several, right? One thing is training, but then there are actual physical things that we can implement.
Mhm.
You mentioned a firewall, and to not only protect ourselves, but also protect the people that we're serving, protect our clients, which are big asset. And so, can you explain to me a little bit? You touched on this a bit, but what is a phishing attack, and how do our small businesses protect themselves against these phishing attacks?
Okay. Yeah. So
Mhm.
if we define phishing, basically for your listeners, phishing is the way that criminals trick you into giving up your login,
Mhm.
getting you to log into the fake website, installing software that's going to steal your data or give somebody remote access.
Mhm.
Phishing is basically the electronic version of social engineering. Social engineering is basically using psychology to get somebody to do what you want them to do. Criminals are incredibly good at that. I mean, when you think about some of these people that are not necessarily using computers, it's just a phone.
Mhm.
They're making 1,000 calls a day. They're practicing every day. If you only get one call every 6 months, you're practicing once every 6 months. So they're getting way better than you are at defending yourself. They're getting better at attacking you.
Mhm.
That's kind of what's happening with all these threats, and technology enables that at a higher level. Um, I like sharing with people is if I call you right now and say, hey, you want $500, and all we need is a $35 admin fee of a credit card, would I get your credit card? 90% of you will give me your credit card,
Hmm.
right? So is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it's just a thing. If I'm a criminal, that's a problem.
Mhm.
If I'm not a criminal, then it's just an admin fee and you got $500. What are the odds of that, right?
Mhm.
That's kind of how phishing works, only via email, or sometimes even through some advertisements.
Mhm.
So when you talk to a business owner about protecting against these type of attacks, the most effective way that we've seen, and actually the one that gives you the most bang for the buck, is training your staff.
Mhm.
And there's some really affordable, inexpensive, they call them security awareness training tools that are basically little videos that your staff gets to uh, watch every week or so. There's quizzes, there's documents that they can read and learn to catch up on some of the latest threats. That is what we found that has been the most effective and most successful way to empower your staff and actually protect your business.
Mhm.
Another one, which we talked about before, is a good email security platform. So there's your basic free email security that most of the email providers have, but that's not sufficient because, as we know, everything escalates. So as the threats evolve, our solutions have to evolve. I was talking to some of my clients, and the stuff that we deployed, we were using AI for security back in 2017. Well, that AI back in 2017 compared to what's available today is light years away. So making sure that you're constantly looking at how can you improve your security, what makes sense for your business, because also you don't want to get carried away. You want to do what's called reasonable and acceptable, and that's actually a term that the agencies, the regulatory agencies, use. So you got to find what makes sense for your business, what's reasonable in the eyes of whoever will come in and audit you, and then put that in place and continue to evolve and continue to improve.
Yeah, no, that's important, right? And I think you put it very well that, these phishing attacks are going to evolve, right? The methods that people use is going to evolve. And so we have to also adapt our solutions to that. And so this is a part of it. We mentioned employee training. So can you re-stress the importance of employee training, and also what should this training include?
Right. Yeah. So, as a business owner, I have a little bit of experience in this part. We get to the point where we can make our first hire and we're really excited, hire somebody and then say, here you go. And we don't really train them. We don't really, we just think, hey, I got somebody I can take stuff off your plate, and you take it off your plate and then you forget about it. And that opens up a whole can of worms. When it talks about security, you have a lot of times you find people sharing their passwords, and here, write it down, and that's an admin password, which is horrible. And so I would start with training the business owner, and this is not like going to college and taking 4 years courses. It's something simple, something you can learn 10 minutes a day for a couple of weeks, and it's not complicated. But getting the business owner to develop that culture of security, because if the founder or the owner has that culture of security, it'll trickle down into all the employees. And then you can just plug in the tools like the security awareness training platform. And like I said, there's tons of them, and some a little better than others, but they're all really good. And that's basically just the practical implementation of your culture of security. So we like, what we like seeing is a customer sends us an email and goes, hey, this looks weird. Can you check on this? We love seeing that. And because that tells me one thing. One, staff is learning. Two, the culture of security is working, because instead of that employee saying, I'm going to ignore this and not tell anybody, they're going out of their way to make sure that it is a safe and good email versus a malicious email. And more importantly, it tells us that the staff knows that bringing up things that look weird, anomalies, is important. You'd be surprised how many times somebody clicks on the wrong thing and they don't tell anybody. And then 6 months later, they're in the 6 o'clock news because there was a massive breach. I mean, you can look at the news stories in the last 6 months. That's happened at least twice in the last 6 months. That's very public. So if you empower your staff, if you give them the tools and the training, and then you create that culture and you empower them, they'll protect themselves, and that in turn protects you and your clients.
Yeah, no, and we always talk to our clients about managing risk. And typically we talk about legal and insurance, but I think this is something very much, you gave the example of, right, someone's business can go down because all their data is not backed and it's saved, on a hard drive. And so, yeah, no, it's very important to protect your businesses and manage risk. And so this is a part of it. How can small businesses ensure the security of their data when they're working with third-party vendors?
Yes, this is extremely important, because as we rely more on third-party vendors to run our companies, this is it's just another vector of attack. I'm sure you've heard this is fairly recently. There's been hospitals that are shut down because they got breached, and the way that the hospital got breached was through a vendor. This happens a lot. In fact, there's an IT company that's getting sued. Well, there's a lot of them getting sued, but this one's getting sued because their tools got compromised, And then those tools were used to inject their clients' machines with malicious software. So, if you're not checking on your vendors, then you're putting yourself at risk. A lot of people say, well, how am I going to talk to Salesforce about, their security? Well, it's simple. Every year you say, hey, show me the report of the scans you've done. They have to do it. They're a public company. They have to do it. Every company that has cybersecurity insurance needs to do an assessment, at least a yearly assessment. Now, a lot of companies don't do it. That's a problem. But you, as the customer, have I would even say the obligation to say, I'm doing my part, because if the data gets compromised, I know they're going to come at me, and then I can show that I did my part, what was reasonable and acceptable, to protect my customer data. So making sure that you keep your vendors accountable, and not in a bad way. Sometimes accountability carries a negative connotation, but it's not. It's just making sure that everybody's protecting their data. Like for example, I've been pretty careful about my data, but Blue Cross Blue Shield got breached, so there goes my data. Humana got breached, there goes my data. E-Trade got breached, there goes my data. The IRS got breached, there goes my data. My CPA firm that I didn't use for 7 years, they got breached, there goes my data. So your data is getting stolen by all kinds of places. The only way that we can address this is to create an ecosystem where everybody is accountable to each other and supporting each other. And if you pay attention, the government's been pushing rules and regulations. The FTC and other agencies have been putting out rulings that should raise the hair on the back of your neck, because there's some pretty serious consequences to not keeping your data secure and keeping your vendors secure, or at least accountable. There's some really interesting things out there, but ultimately it's just working with your vendors. The more you grow, the more they grow. So it's a symbiotic relationship. So therefore, if they get breached and your clients get breached, that's a problem. So working together with your vendors and having that two-way communication is really important.
Good. Yeah, no, that's, as we're chatting, I'm thinking about our practices too, and like a little bit reevaluating them. And it's a ton of information. And so, Luis, what is one key point that you would like for our community to take away from this conversation?
Man, 1 point.
1 point.
You're limiting me here. I guess the main point would be to be curious. And that may not be the answer you wanted or expected, because it may come from left field. But if you think about it, anytime that somebody's curious, there's a learning that happens. There's a desire to grow and improve and seek answers. As a business owner, my recommendation is usually to the new business owners is, make sure that you find you build a network of qualified consultants that can help you. A good lawyer, good CPA, good IT professional, good bookkeeper, EGBI, of course. So that you find yourself with the resources that you need, not to be an expert, but to know who to call. That's the expert that can bring the resources you need to protect your company and to create that culture of security, to empower your employees, to be resilient and resourceful.
Yeah, no, that's very important. You have to have your network of experts, and part of this next question will help our community connect to the experts, which is y'all. So how can some of our listeners obtain more information about your company, The Critical Update, and stay up to date with good online security practices?
Yes. So, since we love EGBI, we're invested in EGBI. What I'd like to do is for your listeners, until July 15th, we'll give away a free 26-minute cybersecurity clarity session, where we can talk about identify the number one security threat that customer may have, that business owner may have. We can also put together an action plan. Again, it doesn't have to be anything complicated. It doesn't have to be anything scary. We just want to help people wrap their head around this cybersecurity thing that everybody hears about, but a lot of people don't understand.
Mhm.
So if you want to schedule one of these 26-minute sessions, then just go to our website at www.thecriticalupdate.com/contact. Now repeat that, thecriticalupdate.com/contact. Other really great resources are the Federal Trade Commission, ftc.gov. And then I was actually doing some research yesterday, and I found another website that had a lot of really good info. It's the cybersecurityguide.org, and that's a conglomerate of different nonprofits and academia that got together. So there's all kinds of good stuff out there.
Yeah.
Again, if you're curious, if you're seeking, you can find all kinds of good information. Just be careful with what you click on and what you install.
Yeah, no, and I think I also want to use that as an opportunity to invite our guests over to our upcoming Lunch and Learn that we're going to have with the Critical Update. And so we're having a Lunch and Learn on Thursday, June 20th for online security for small business owners. And so we're catering this specifically to small businesses. It's going to be over here at our office at EGBI, 1144 Airport Boulevard, Suite 260. You'll have a chance to meet Luis there. He'll be directing the workshop, and it's a good opportunity to learn a little bit more about cybersecurity and follow up with this episode. So yeah, thank you very much, Luis, for that information. I think it's something that every small business should be thinking about, especially if you're thinking about growing and they get employees. Start creating that safe data culture.
Correct.
Well, friends, that's all for today. It's been a complete pleasure chatting with you, Luis. So thank you for making the time to be here with us today. We hope you find this episode useful to you. If you know someone who could benefit from listening to this episode, please share the link with them. And remember that La Incubadora podcast is part of the Economic Growth Business Incubator. We're a business incubator in Central Texas that offers training, coaching, and support to small business owners with barriers to achieving success. If you'd like to learn more about our services, please visit egbi.org and see you very soon.
Thank you.